Did you know that parents rank financial literacy as the #1 most difficult life skill to teach? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app for families. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Kids learn to earn, save, and spend wisely. And parents can rest easy knowing their kids are learning about money with guardrails in place. Try Greenlight risk-free today at greenlight.com/getstarted. That's GREENLIGHT.com/getstarted.
Geico makes it easy to get affordable renter's insurance in as little as 90 seconds. And then you'll start to wonder why everything else isn't so fast. Like, why does it take so long to do the dishes? A meal that's gone in 3 requires 45 minutes worth of dishes. Doesn't make sense. But it does make sense to get renter's insurance through Geico. That way, that pile of dirty dishes and the other things you love are covered. Get more with Geico.
None of it.
Really?
Nothing. No, the first scene was bearable, and everything else was like having a Star Wars movie described to you by a high teenager.
What about Andy Samberg with his shirt off, though? That was pretty awesome.
Silence, demon!
I'm serious. When I get down from here, I am so gonna fuck you.
Monday. I gotta start setting a calendar thing.
Finally, Noah, tell these assholes to untie me.
No can do, Lucinda. Only way to keep us all safe.
From your witchery!
Yeah, is it witchery? Is that the word?
I feel like it's not witchness, right?
Witch hood, maybe? Is it witch hood?
It's definitely not witch hood.
Noah,
Witchosity?
Cecil,
Doesn't sound right.
Little help here, please?
Yeah, guys, I know this week's show is on the Salem witch trials, but you can't burn my wife.
Yeah, especially not indoors.
Especially not indoors.
Safety.
No,
Right.
I was promised a burning. I am burning something.
Yeah, actually, I'm with Tom. I mean, wood already gathered. I feel like we're crossed. It's point of no return.
Plus, she killed you last week.
Well, I got better.
Hello? And welcome to Citation Needed, the podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts. Because this is the internet. That's how it works now. I'm Tom, and I'll be the main character this week, more or less. But what's a leading man without a supporting cast? So first up are two men who have already shed a couple of pounds of New Year's resolutions, Ethan and Eli.
Couple of pounds.
Yeah, my diet is mostly based on Nicki Minaj lyrics. You know? nobody likes skinny bitches in the club. So
I was like, I read that line and I was like, dick? Does he means dick? All she talks about is dick. I was very
Also
confused.
that.
I'm just saying, you'd think having all of 2017 to pull the trigger, I'd have done it. Fingers crossed for this year, everybody.
Oh, no!
May old acquaintance.
All right, and rounding out the cast tonight are two men whose personal style can best be described as unemployed warlock in witness protection, Cecil and Noah.
Government Eye of Newt makes the best lizard melt,
Not
though.
bad.
Like the best lizard melt.
Hey, Tom, not for nothing, but don't make the other warlocks think I'm a snitch, okay? Doesn't need to happen.
Now, before we get going, we want to take a second to thank our patrons for inflicting this show upon the world. And if you'd like to help spread the culpability around a bit, and why wouldn't you, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. With that out of the way, tell us, Noah, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
Today, we're going to be talking about the Salem witch trials.
Heath, you burned away a couple of hours on the Wikipedia article. Are you ready to give us your hot take on this subject, or should I struggle through some more fire-related puns?
I would infer no. Just ask me the fucking intro question. Let's go.
All right, what were the Salem witch trials?
All right, so the Salem witch trials were a series of court cases against people accused of witchcraft held in colonial Massachusetts during 1692 and 1693. The trials eventually led to the execution of 20 people, 19 by hanging and 1 by crushing. We'll get there. And also the deaths of 5 other people, including 2 infants who died in jail after being convicted. one of the dumber moments in American history.
Why is that funny, Cecil? Why is that funny?
It's funny because they're babies.
Because you're picturing a little baby with a long beard clanking a cup against the bars.
New fish.
Yeah, so definitely one of the dumbest moments in American history. Absolutely.
But to be fair, it did drop down on the list a bit this year or last year.
Yeah, that being said, though, the two baby witches with the big hat over their whole bodies, that was adorable.
Yeah, the Ann Gettys right before we burned them calendar sold very well. Very well.
And baby witches are better toasted anyhow. I mean, really.
It's best if they have a little pot belly.
Yeah.
Hey!
All right, so it all started in February of 1692 when a 9-year-old girl named Betty Paris and her 11-year-old cousin Abigail Williams started having weird fits or seizures. According to Reverend Deodat Lawson, they'd scream, throw stuff, make weird noises, and contort themselves into creepy yoga positions. This actually became a tradition between Boston area church leaders and local kids. This is one of the origins.
Okay, you find me a 9-year-old who doesn't have fits and throw stuff, that's your witch right there. Just a polite little 9-year-old.
I was gonna say that you probably don't meet a lot of 9-year-olds, and then I remembered the court order.
That's true.
And so,
Okay, can I just say the judge never answered what nanny cams were for in that case? Like, what are they for then?
I don't think that is important at all. No.
Exactly.
All right, so the family took the girls to the doctor, but that didn't really help because, again, this was 1692. So the doctor's just some guy who, like, fondled you and said, you're fine, that'll be one clump of mud or whatever they were paying with.
Pretty sure they used chickens back then. You could take a chicken to the doctor back in the day.
Regardless, these fits apparently kept happening, and two other girls, Ann Putnam Jr. and Elizabeth Hubbard, claimed to be having the same problem with the fits.
Yeah, the first Me Too campaign is less fondly remembered.
oh shit!
So,
Yeah, because the hashtag was a brand.
yeah, so naturally, the only recourse the families had at this point was to head down to the police station and accuse 3 local women of witchcraft. And naturally, they chose the poor slutty lady, the atheist slutty lady, and the colored, doesn't really matter if she was slutty, lady.
Okay, Heath, you're being ridiculous. There aren't any women in atheism, so you must be...
No, that's
more
comedy. There's no women in comedy.
Oh, Jesus.
If you masturbate in front of them.
Hey.
Oh Jesus! Oh shit!
careful. Another innocent
He had
man.
consent. It was a joke. It's not clear. It's not clear. Cut that out, please.
Clean edit. Clean edit. Clean edits right here. Let's just all speak our true feelings here in this edit, everybody. Let's get all that truth out.
It's not. If you're funny, it's different. Okay.
All of it goes. All of this goes.
I mean, I thought it was funny.
Oh God!
Clip.
And we're back.
And we're back from our first ever sponsorship, Potbelly, the sandwich that'll fill you right up. What were you saying about witches, Heath? Something about
All right,
witches.
so this all led to the first 3 arrests. The poor lady was a homeless beggar named Sarah Good, who clearly had to fuck some husbands for a potato at some point. And one of the moms definitely saw that happen and was like, all right, mental note, get this bitch hanged. So that's how that one happened.
What kind of heartless bastard wouldn't help someone with a "will fuck for potato" sign? I mean, come on.
Somebody who misread the sign and got excited, Cecil. The numeral 4 looks a lot like an A from a distance. And I thought...
What happens if you just like fingerling a little? Oh, Jesus Christ. All right. So,
All right.
yes.
Don't rush it.
All right.
Rush it. Thank you.
All right. So
That
there's
bitch was in Idaho.
All right, so there's one. So which was next? Which was next?
Right.
Who wrote that? Me? Did I write that? Which?
Yeah,
Warren,
can't blame me
which
this
I
week.
prefer Potbelly. Which?
All right, next up was the atheist lady. She was a nerdy divorcee named Sarah Osborne, and nobody liked her because they could tell she only showed up at church to like placate all the Puritans and avoid things like witch trials. Did not quite find the sweet spot on that, but in fairness, I got the impression she was always like, correcting people on annoying shit, like, hey, you can't be more unique, whatever, go fuck yourself. And, she never let the other person hold the pen for the cross. She was a bitch, is what I'm saying. I'm actually happy about her role in all this.
Jesus
But
Christ.
Sad, otherwise.
Okay, well, I'd like to be the first person to posit that Sarah Osborne was, in fact, a witch and is, in fact, Noah.
All right, Eli, you said a 6-letter word for joy was melon.
I love melon. I love melon.
All right, we need to move forward here. Heath, what's next?
All right, and the last of the original suspects was Tituba, whose name I learned in 9th grade is not pronounced Tit-tuba. Got yelled at for that.
Which is what I thought it was.
Seems like that's your fault. That's your fault, Mrs. Whitehouse. I'm 14. I'm going to say
Put a
Tit-tuba.
CH.
You had to know I'm saying Tit-tuba there. Obviously.
And just as he pronounced it that way, his friend zoomed off a water slide and slammed it to his stomach and shat himself and throw up right in front of the entire English class.
Okay.
It was an embarrassing field trip.
All right. Very triggered. Anyway, Tit-tuba was born suspect. That's the point. She was a slave, most likely from Venezuela, who was owned by Samuel Parris, the father of Betty Parris. The travel bans weren't very strict back then. But the racism was about the same. So Tituba was an easy target. Among other things, she was accused of exposing the white girls to dark magic from a book called Malleus Maleficarum. And when she pointed out that the book is actually about exterminating witches, they were like, she can read, she's a witch, burn her. So, on March 1st, all 3 accused women were sent to jail.
All those girls are like,
I've never seen dark magic like this big before. And here I am born without a gag reflex.
How am I going to pay for this potato?
I'm sure you can russet up a solution.
Russet up a solution.
I did a russet joke too.
It's a very original. Very original. I have to point this out because we don't like generally learn Latin anymore, but Malleus Maleficarum, it was a papal bull on how and when to kill witches that translates to witch's hammer or the hammer of witches. So using possession of that to accuse somebody of witchcraft would be like the 17th century equivalent of reading Harper Lee for help eradicating your mockingbirds. That's how stupid that was.
Yep. That's about on par. Absolutely.
3 times I read that book. I still have mockingbirds.
it's infested with mockingbirds.
At the Home Depot. I need a Boo Radley. Is there? I don't know where that's at. Where's the aisles? God damn it.
If I just buy this hammer, can I make one out of my kid? Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I mean, everyone at Home Depot is a little bit Boo Radley, Well, you've been staring at that wood for a while, bro.
I was going to whittle it.
Right. Clean cut. So, the news about the witches spread around, and later that month, several more people were arrested. That included Martha Corey, who basically got thrown in jail for hearing about the witches getting arrested and being like, hey, that's probably fucking stupid. And she was a full member of the Salem Village Church, so this added to the panic as the town realized that everyone was a potential suspect at that point. If you were a woman with thoughts. Anyway,
yeah, right.
Potential suspect.
Yeah.
So another arrest that month was Dorothy Good, the 4-year-old daughter of Sarah Good. And I can't stress this enough, 4-year-old, she literally got put through an interrogation with local magistrates.
Oh, my
Just
God.
like shining hot lamps on her and teasing her with a delicious sippy cup of juice. No, too bad. Can't take. And this questioning somehow led to answers from the 4-year-old that got turned into a confession that, yes, my mom's a witch. I'm this many fingers. Let me get a hit of that juice.
Okay, but to be fair, that Netflix documentary, Making a Witch, left a ton of stuff out.
Well, so far, it seems like they're doing a pretty good job of clearing out the local witch population. And that's good to help control the newt population. So I don't know, when does this start getting bad? This is
All right, so moving ahead to April 1692, and the panic really starts ramping up all the way. We get a bunch more arrests, including the first 2 men to get in trouble. So, yeah, this is where things really crossed a line. First, they arrested Giles Corey, the husband of the full church lady Martha Corey. We'll get back to Giles Corey. He'll turn out to be a badass, but more on that later. They also arrested a guy named John Proctor for arguing too much during the hearing about the arrest of his wife, Elizabeth.
Giles Corey, a man whose last words I've followed ever since I first read them. Gain more weight.
no, that's not.
What?
It's not.
I skimmed.
I just love the idea that they were going like, okay, guys, we're Puritans, and John seems to want his wife back really bad. They can't be doing Puritan right. We should probably throw his ass in jail, too.
Yeah, and this is when everyone started rolling over and snitching like they were part of the Trump campaign. People were getting arrested and then confessing to being magical witches and then just naming obnoxious people they didn't like as their witchcraft accomplices. So, share those crossword pendants. Eventually, about 200 people ended up being accused. And this is a town with like 500 people. My favorite detail about this part of the story is the way that one guy got arrested, but then he got released. Apparently, a guy named Nehemiah Abbott Jr. got taken in by the cops, but then the accusers were like, oh, shit. Sorry. No, different guy's specter was cursing us. Like they had a lineup of ghost demons, and this guy got cleared during that process somehow.
We're all picturing the lineup scene from The Usual Suspects, but with like Casper and Beetlejuice, right?
At the end of the movie, it's just Casper Soze shooting Beetlejuice in his tiny shrunken head.
All right, so now it's the end of May. The whole thing was getting way out of hand, and the governor of the colony set up a special court just for the witches.
Which court?
Which court?
Which court?
Okay, stop. Don't do that.
Yeah.
All right. The first case was against a woman named Bridget Bishop, held on June 2nd. It went pretty fast. After a prosecutor pointed out that her coat was torn in not one, but 2 different directions, the grand jury immediately indicted her on all charges. And since the colony was, running at peak bureaucratic efficiency at this point, they had like a TSA pre-check lane for witches and kind of like Ferguson has for black people. And she went straight to trial and was convicted later that day.
You don't get trials
and
in
8
Ferguson.
days after that, she was executed by hanging. Yes.
Well, when you're dealing with something as trivial as death, why wait? You shouldn't wait around for that.
Hey, no fair stealing your interjections from Texas gubernatorial slogans. All right, we have a rule.
Okay, still, so far so good, Heath. It's operating at almost supernatural efficiency. I like it.
Yeah, so they were off to a really quick start, and that was good. But apparently somebody pointed out that given the current pace, they'd be hanging almost half the population by the end of the week, which was a solid point. So the court decided to adjourn for 20 days and seek out the advice of New England's community of Christian leaders. And those people got together under the leadership of Reverend Cotton Mather and drafted a letter of recommendations. Fortunately, it suggested having some restraint when it comes to prosecution, but unfortunately, the rest of the letter was like, yeah, but definitely kill all the witches.
I'm guessing that the Freedom from Religion Foundation back then was just one guy in a tiny cell waiting to die.
Wait, it's different now? How is it different now?
Well, they have to wait a lot longer now. Back then, it was very quick. Very quick.
Yeah, so the court went over the letter, and they took it to mean get creative. So that's what they did. They got super creative about their official courtroom trials meant to legally prove that a person is doing evil magic in league with Satan, which means, Andrew Torres in a curly wig had to show up for work and make up witch tests that could be evidence of witch or not witch. And what his team managed to come up with was amazing. It's honestly like these Puritans were all writing for Monty Python. But before we get to all that, weighing ducks and building a bridge out of her, let's take a quick break and cue the music for Apropos of Nothing.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming. Today, we're trying to come up with some fast and efficient witch tests. All right, no wrong answers, just throw them out.
Oh, I got one.
Wonderful, good start. How about a round of applause for Brother Haypenny for going first, huh?
Okay, that was off-putting.
I read it in a management book.
Well, I'm just saying, it's off-putting. It's weird.
Thank you for your feedback. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that weirdly tense response from your management book also?
You know what, Steve?
Is this a lunch meeting? Because I brought my lunch, but I don't want to eat it if nobody else is going to be.
Guys, I had remember my idea?
Right. Sorry, Brother Haypenny, go ahead.
That's fine. I'll just let my food get cold. That's cool.
Okay,
Cool.
so I was thinking witches use wands, right?
It's chicken, so it's going to be gross if it.
Okay, Alan. Okay.
Sorry.
The worst.
So what I was thinking, what if we looked around their house for sticks?
Like the whole house?
And the yard, too, because they could have thrown it. Like the guys throw drugs on cops.
Okay, looking for sticks. Good. Anything else? Anyone?
We could torture them until they confess.
Yeah, torture. I like it.
Okay, but what if they didn't do it?
Then they won't confess because they
won't confess. They didn't do it. Won't confess. Okay, exactly.
I'm just gonna eat. I'm just gonna eat my lunch. It's
Alan,
chicken, and I
seriously, Alan.
Is yelling in your management book too? What else did you read there?
I hate you guys. I hate you guys.
Got a pesto on it. It's gonna go bad.
And we're back. When we left off, we were all picturing Andrew Torres in a curly wig and holding in our bile. So what's next?
Okay, so the trials were back on, and the witch testing was in full swing. This is
I'm sorry. Are we supposed to still be holding in our bile? I feel like we were supposed to still be doing it. Is there an update? I may have fucked this up, guys. We may have to go back. Sorry, Heath. We'll figure it out later.
I feel like we're always supposed to be holding in our bile. When are we not supposed to be doing that? I missed the cue for let your
so
bile
much
go.
of your attitudes.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to have don't vomit. That doesn't need to be a sign everywhere. I feel like that's just, you always don't, if you can avoid it. All right. Yeah, so we're going to go through some of the best witch testing techniques that they had. First up, we have bound submersion. Now, it's not clear if this one actually happened at the Salem trials, but either way, this is an important test in the history of witch hunting. It's also sometimes known as ordeal by water. The accused witch would be bound with a rope, often with a bag of rocks attached to them, and they'd be thrown into a river. And this is based on the belief that water is a pure element that repels evil. So if she floated up to the surface, then she was a witch and they'd execute her. But if she sank, she was innocent and they'd haul the innocent drowned corpse back out and not execute that person.
Sounds like the court of one of the federal judges Trump appointed last week.
Right? Or at least it sounds like the answer that one of them gave when John Kennedy asked him what a liquidated claim was.
Well, I would Google that. I would. And I'll keep my phone right up there with me in my little. I want to say Judge Hutch. Is it a judge?
Judge Hutch. And if I have to take a break, I'll do the bangy thing. The bangy thing.
I got the hammer. I'll use the hammer of justice.
My grandson has one of those too. So
I'll turn to the bailiff and call end scene. That's how this works, right?
I'll call a timeout. I'm not too proud.
But I have a practical question. Wouldn't all of them sink? I feel like after the third or fourth sinking one, wouldn't you be like, man, they keep coming up innocent. Maybe we should go back to a more reliable method, like the magic 8-ball. Like, is she a witch? No, my sources say no. Okay, free to go. There you go. It's done. When do they not all sing?
Would be an improvement. You know.
Noticeable. And another water-themed technique they used was called dunking. Basically, they'd set up a drowning device and almost drown you over and over until you confessed to being a witch or died. It's kind of like Action Park, actually. In Salem, this was usually a strangely whimsical combination of a seesaw and waterboarding that they had. They'd strap up the defendant on a torturing chair on one side of the seesaw.
This is not sounding whimsical.
And the seesaw, it's whimsical. It's a toy. It's children's.
The seesaw. Okay, I get you. The torture chair.
No cherry bombs.
You got to picture Baby Heath on the other side of the thing, and they can't dunk her in the water, and he's jumping as hard as he can, but he's got a backpack full of Tootsie Roll Pops, and she's just, her toes are grazing the water.
I got cherry bombed. I vomited and shat at the same time. It was very embarrassing. Yeah. Well, so they had the seesaw with the torture chair on one side, and they'd keep dunking you into a river until some evidence emerged or until the problem, just kind of worked itself out in payroll.
U.S. government's still doing this, but it's cool. We're the good guys, so we could totally do that. Yeah.
We are.
I feel good about it.
Good guys.
Next up, we have spectral evidence. This was dream-based testimony by people who claimed they were cursed. The accusers would describe dreams and visions they had of the alleged witch doing evil, witchy stuff with like brooms and cauldrons and lots of excuses about how I was making chili and then like, okay, can we taste it? That's terrible. Where's the sour cream? You're a witch. It wasn't the test.
She's just
test.
like, no, I'm just vegan.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then we're going to burn you anyway. You're the worst.
That's fair.
It's a big part of the trials for a while, but spectral evidence actually ended up being called into question. The claim being that the devil can take any shape. So, the dreams could just be the devil in a lady costume like Bugs Bunny.
Told you about that dream in confidence, but whatever.
But those in favor of spectral evidence pointed out that Satan can't steal your form in the dream dimension without permission from you.
Oh my God! What?
Yes. So eventually, the court stopped allowing the spectral evidence, and turned out there were way less witches than they thought. After that.
Shocking.
I love that there might be transcripts of this debate, right? Like the legal question about which forms the devil can take to influence dream testimony in witch trials. It's like a turducken of bullshit here.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have the Lord's Prayer test. This was basically a roadside sobriety test, but for being super Christian instead of not being drunk. They'd make the defendant recite the Lord's Prayer, and if it wasn't perfect, you're a witch. And it wasn't just showing that you knew the words. You had to get through the whole thing with like no stutters and perfect diction and no mistakes at all, which tends to be more difficult if you've been sitting in a 1692 jail cell for the last few months, or if you're mentally disabled but also not a witch, which is possible, or if you're the president, or if you're hallucinating from eating rye bread that had LSD fungus on it, which is one of the theories about where all the fits came from. And the prosecutor was doing the like 2 for flinching thing the whole time.
Obvious. Yeah, right.
And then they made all the people with Parkinson's play Jenga,
Okay, Cecil, that wasn't a test for witches, and I know you objected to it, but that was the only tournament I ever won, and their money's as green as anyone else's.
That's fair.
Wrinklier, but still green.
Next up, we have the touch test. This was based on the theory that if a person was having a witch-based seizure and then they were physically touched by the witch who cast the spell, then the seizure would stop. The idea was that the evil witch venom would go back into the witch because witches were stupid and made their spells easily reversible and full of ways to catch you during a trial afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like how if you get bit by a spider, you have to eat it or you'll die.
What?
No? Okay. Moving on. Another technique they used was known as pressing, which is a really nice way of saying we crush you under a pile of large rocks until you confess and repent or die from the crushing. It's kind of like conversion therapy.
Right, except in that system, they just throw the rocks at you. But it's basically the same. Yeah.
And this is actually how Giles Corey died. He's the guy who got arrested for being the husband of accused witch Martha Corey, and therefore he was probably a warlock. Well, they couldn't get him to talk, so they did the pressing thing. He was 80 years old, just for the record.
Jesus.
And despite getting slowly crushed by more and more large stones, he went full Braveheart and refused to confess, and died. Although the big freedom scream was probably kind of feeble and sad with all the rocks on his chest.
Judgy.
I'm
not even clear how confessing would have helped the issue, though. All right, I am a warlock. Oh, you're free to go then. What?
All right, next up, we have the test of the witch's teat. So apparently you can't become a witch unless you have an extra nipple somewhere on your body.
What?
Or they give you one when you become a witch. It's not clear.
It's a weird
but
hazing.
Either way, if you want to prove
weird.
it's a weird hazing. Yeah. So if you want to prove someone's a witch, you just have to find their nubbin. But it's not just like a normal extra nipple. It has to be a dead extra nipple. So if you find someone who has a nipple with no feeling and it doesn't bleed when you stab it, that's a witch. And that's why these people spent a sizable chunk of these trials just stabbing women with needles.
Jesus.
Turns out this often leads to the discovery of a skin imperfection and eventually a spot with no blood because there's no blood left to bleed.
By the way, this practice of stabbing someone until they had no blood left to bleed would later come to be called tooth cleaning. So fun fact.
You're just on the nubbin. You're like, this milk tastes funny. What's in it? Is it witch hazelnut? What is that?
Jesus Christ.
And last but not least, we have the witch cake test. This is by far my favorite one. So, you know the old expression that says, if all else fails, you probably haven't tapped into the power of cakes, voodoo, and the urine of a child?
You do listen.
well, apparently a woman in Salem Village also knew that expression. So she told the Paris family about how it works. You bake a cake with rye meal and, of course, the urine of a child who got cursed.
What?
And then you feed the urinal cake to a dog.
What?
And since the kid's urine still has little particles of the witch inside of it, then the witch is going to feel like a dog is biting her. The dog eats the piss cake.
I'm pretty sure that makes it homeopathic.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point, a Puritan lawyer was like, the prosecution calls Rover the dog to eat Exhibit D, which you'll remember is a piss cake. And then they all just like stared at some lady hoping she'd start screaming while the dog was eating the piss cake.
I feel like this was just a very convoluted way for 1600s Eli to jerk off to a dog eating a cake soaked in pee. Am I wrong?
On a related note, by the way, I am now accepting apologies from everyone who said I was doing it wrong when I ate those cakes in the urinal. Turns out I was killing witches. Why would they call them cakes if you're not supposed to eat them, guys?
Okay, I would like to transition as quickly as possible from this. Please, Heath, continue, please.
Because you're too proud to apologize.
So the trials kept going through the rest of the year. But eventually the town leaders started to realize that everyone was just, trying to swat people that pissed them off. So by the beginning of 1693, the rules were changed and most of the remaining suspects were found not guilty and released. Except for a few who, really were witches.
Well, right. Yeah, obviously.
Finally, some justice for Hansel and Gretel.
Wait, didn't Hansel and Gretel survive and kill the witch themselves? I feel like they got their just desserts.
All right. Okay.
I wouldn't know. I don't have kids.
Shit tits.
All right. That was up there with the dumbest things ever, but there was a silver lining. The Salem witch trials did become a cautionary tale against mass hysteria, sexism, racism, and general religious stupidity.
Good thing we cured that back in the 1600s, huh?
Yeah. According to historian George Lincoln Burr, the Salem witch trials were, quote, the rock on which the theocracy was shattered, end quote. But then about 200 years later, the GOP of the 1980s was the platform on which the shattered theocracy reformed itself like the fucking liquid metal guy from Terminator 2. What I'm saying is we need to lure the Christian right into a steel foundry is what I'm thinking. Which actually shouldn't be too difficult with the help of a 10-year-old kid, just like in the movie. So we've got a good I like this plan.
Foundry full of Eli's burning.
Still thumbs up. Still thumbs up.
All right, Heath, if you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, what would it be?
Be a white man. If you're being born, you want to go with white and male. I think that's the lesson from like all our episodes.
Pretty much.
That's like every episode we do.
Works on so many levels. Yeah. Are you ready to be repeatedly dunked in the river of stupidity for our panel until you confess your ignorance then?
I am ready.
All right. My question is, what are some witch tests that got passed over? A, burning them to see if they burn. B, mumbling which says what? C, telling them they were a witch if their hand was bigger than their face. Or D, seeing if you can get them to look at your fingers in a circle and then burning.
I think it's secret answer E. It's if a witch puts their hand above a pile of shit and it makes a noise, then they're a witch, right? Is it E? I believe it's E, Eli.
That's correct. It's secret answer. Correct. It's correct answer. Secret
All right,
answer.
Heath, if accused of witchcraft, it appears to be a no-win situation. But what were some options accused witches did have to survive? A, drink the whole river to avoid drowning in it.
Oh, there you go.
Slackers. B, fill your belly with helium so the teeter-totter thing never goes down. C, eat a diet of pure asbestos to avoid burning. Could work. Or D, build an immunity to being crushed by repeatedly asking out the hottest girl in the village.
Can't be D because tried that. Tried C.
Yep, that never goes away.
Tried B. It's A.
All right, sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay, to be fair, if you had tried B when your friend kicked you in the stomach, you would have just flown all over the water.
It just deflates really fast. Yeah, it just shoots around.
I would have vomited in a really high-pitched vomit noise.
All right, so far so good. I got a tough one here for you. Which of the following is the slowest seller at the Salem Witch Trials Museum gift shop? A, Trial by Ordeal, the board game.
Otherwise known as Settlers of Catan.
B, the Help Reverend Smoot Find Susie's Third Nipple Maze placemat. Is it C, the witch kebabs, even though they're just sausage, they just call them that? Or is it D, that big machine that you crank that presses your penny, just like all other gift shops? Because who the fuck would put 50 cents in that thing to ruin another cent? You would think at the very least it could provide the fucking penny, but it's like, oh, you also have to put in the penny, and I have to do all the fucking work. I have to crank the fucking thing. What the fuck am I paying you for?
All right. I got to assume it's D because that'd be a weird machine to buy. Like, why would you buy that machine from the gift shop? What would you do with that at home?
Correct answer is D. People love the witch kebabs. Yes. Awesome. They're just sausage.
All right, Heath, last one. Witches are pretty dumb and get caught easily. What are some other dumb ways of getting caught? A, scream, "Why won't this blood come off my hands?" when you're asleep.
I just want to point out, I could have been screaming that for any reason. There are a lot of dreams I could have been having.
It's from a Francis Bacon play.
I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I'm going to dunk you so many times.
It always comes back to bacon, doesn't it? Always back to bacon with you.
Dunk you over and over again.
All right, so what are some other dumb ways of getting caught? I have to remind people of the question here. B, hire Paul Manafort. C, mistake reply for reply all. Or D, ask your wife to pass the I fucked your sister at the dinner table.
There's a lot of reasons I could have been saying that, too. I just want to point that out.
Especially often when you go back for seconds on that one. Sloppy seconds. It gets sloppy.
Will you pass? Don't say it. Will you pass? Don't say it. I got it. I fucked your sister. God damn it.
Fucked your sister. Yukon Golden Shower. D. That's D.
Bravo. It is not D. It is actually B. Hire Paul Manafort.
Yeah. That's the obvious one.
Well, that means that Cecil is our winner. So, Cecil, you get to be host. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get to be a host, and I'm going to pick Noah because Noah writes delightful essays. So.
Why, thank you, Cecil.
I'm bad at it.
See, we can be friendly. We can also be friendly. We don't have to be antagonistic
That was
and make
really
fun
weird.
of each other's
I feel
dicks.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, it was definitively a jab at all the rest of you.
Now I'll toss it over to Sarah for last week's Twitter answer and this week's Twitter question.
Last week's question was, what part of today's fashion should modern women use to defend themselves? And the answer came from Helena Handbasket on Twitter. Bullet bras loaded with actual bullets. There's a gun rack joke in there somewhere. This week's question is, what's the name of your favorite pea-based dessert other than urinal cakes? Just retweet or Facebook share this episode with your answer for a chance to be next week's winner. Back to you, Tom.
All right. Well, for Eli, Cecil, Noah, and Heath, I'm Tom. Thanking you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week. And by then, Noah will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can hear more from Noah, Heath, and Eli, the Scathing Atheist, the Skeptocrat, and God Awful Movies. You can also hear more from Eli by checking out his blog, which you probably won't do, or by underestimating how much you'll regret giving him your phone number. And if you want to hear more from Cecil and me for some reason, I don't know, you can check us out on Cognitive Dissonance. If you'd like to help keep the show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod. Or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can, but the money first. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes. Yeah, you know what? I can't spend your 5-star review.
I sure can't.
Who pays a mortgage with? I really liked it. Thanks. Awesome. Terrific.
Oh, you have an episode suggestion? You know who we ask for those? Patrons. Patrons.
My grandma sent me a 4-star review for Christmas. Yeah.
Not even 5, just 4. Thanks, Grandma. Grandma's kind of a bitch. You want to connect with us on social media or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com.
Are you mad I made fun of your management book? I feel like you're mad about it. Are you not talking to me now? Tom, you want to do some trust falls?
Some people really liked those, okay?
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.